Hello. Mid-2021, me and Robbie began talking about doing a podcast. I had the equipment, but really had no desire to make a podcast. Rather, when I mentioned the idea of the Bridge Church having a podcast, it was more of a, hey, if you ever want to start a podcast at the church, here's some free equipment, get it out of my closet. Robbie took that as a sign that I should start a podcast, which after months of conversations and meetings, we began to work on Into the Fray. Into the Fray is a line from a propaganda song on his Crooked album, where Prop says, "Let me step into the fray like I've got something to say." It's this idea of stepping into the tension, into the complicated, confusing, messy, controversial parts of life and using the voice God gave you. It's all me and Robbie wanted to do. We wanted to bridge the gap between everyday Christians in our cultural context and true, radically loving your neighbor Christianity. So we set out to do that. In 2022, we released 27 episodes. 27 episodes that I edited and recorded. There were actually a couple more that we ended up having to re-record because of quality issues. I enjoyed doing the podcast, especially at the beginning. Me and Robbie were killing it. But scheduling can become difficult. Finding the right people to help can be difficult. Finding the right people to interview or bring on the podcast can be difficult. Remember, I did not want to do the podcast at first. And then here I was a half a year later, finding myself being the main one driving the ship. That's no one's fault but my own. The thing is, though, I did not know where I wanted to steer the ship. I did not have any direction I wanted to go in because the reality is I have a lot of different interests. I love talking about cultural issues, but I also love theology. Add on to that, I also really love just sitting down and having conversations with other people. I love shining a light on others. I do not want the spotlight. Yet, the podcast felt like it kept putting me in the spotlight. I had other things I wanted to do as well. I've never been a big fan of online ministry. I like behind-the-scenes, real-life ministry. I do not like social media. I do not like the internet. And I found myself with this project of building out this online ministry that I had little idea what to do with. In 2022, I also became a deacon. I found the love of my life. And I proposed. I'm now engaged. I've had to rethink my priorities. I stepped back from teaching in our men's Bible study and solely focused on our youth ministry. I cut back on how much time I spent getting to know new people. I started a blog. I found myself creatively frustrated with Into the Fray. And I've spent many nights with my fiance on our Bible study night, our couples Bible study night, which is a Tuesday, trying to figure out what I am to do with this opportunity that I have that I'm not even sure I want. So here's where I've come to. Into the Fray is a resource for everyday Christians. It's a resource to aid you in thinking deeper about the issues of life and faith. The podcast is not just me and Robbie tackling a cultural hot button issue, though we will continue to do that. Rather, the podcast is also a place for me to shine a light on others and their stories. The podcast will introduce you to other people's ideas about faith and life, even the ones that you disagree with. And the podcast will be a place where we tackle issues in the Bible. There will be a Bible study component to all of this. My fiance told me I can do whatever I want with the podcast. She said I can try whatever I would like. There's no rules. So I'm taking her word for it, and I'm running with it. So strap on your seatbelts, or don't. Either way, the ride will be fun. New episodes coming April 4th.